Hi guys, welcome back. This is Where the Gnomes Live, and today I have something a little bit different for you. I just designed this little staff, and I did it the same way that I made my gnome home in my new tree, but I made it for this little crocheted wizard that I just designed and released the free pattern for on my other channel, and that should be popping up on your screen. You'll also find the link in the description box below. So it's a free written pattern along with a free video tutorial that will show you every single row, how to stuff and shape, and how to sew it all together. Of course, you don't need to crochet the wizard to go along with the staff. I just thought the staff was pretty cool, so made it its own video. So what you'll need to make this one is a little bit of tinfoil, not very much, some masking tape, some paper towel, some tacky glue, and I used a little bead. You don't have to, that's optional, and you don't have to use that color. I only used this color because that's the only color I had on hand today. And of course you'll be needing some paint. So what I used for the base coat was black, and then the other colors are totally up to you. You don't need to use the same type of colors. You just want a dark brown or a medium brown. Then you'll want some like a beige or tanny color. This is soft suede. Just something to give highlights with. And then I also dabbed on a little bit of gray. But again, you don't need to use these same colors. But you do want black, and then you want a brown, a light brown, and a tan or a light beige color for highlights. Okay, this is a tinfoil shape that I've covered with masking tape, and I stuck a little bead in there. So before I stick the bark on there, I'm going to show you how I did the tinfoil. So I didn't really measure it the first time, but I will do it because I know many of you are going to want to know. About 11 inches long, about 6.5 inches wide, give or take. And then I'm just going to roll it. I'm going to roll it very tightly at the bottom, a little looser at the top, kind of going on an angle so I pick up more for the top part, so the top part gets wider. Okay, and then I'm going to twist it. Twist it, but leave the top untwisted. So leave about, I don't know, about 2 inches on top untwisted. Okay, I'm just going to cut the very tip off because that's too thin. Okay, now the top I'm going to take my scissors and cut right down the middle. Okay, now I'm going to take my masking tape. This is pretty wide, so I'm just going to narrow it out a little bit. I'm going to start at the bottom and tightly roll it along the tinfoil. Okay, and I covered up here as well. So I'll just take my bead, I'm just going to place it there and then work that piece around it. Twist, and some of this is going to get cut off. Okay, and if you don't like the shape of the top, just add a little bit more tinfoil and then masking tape over that to hold it. Alright, now they're ready for the next step. So now you need your tacky glue, something to work on top of, a paintbrush, and something that you can lean your stick down onto, and tissue paper or paper towel. This paper towel is kind of thick and it's got a design, so I'm just going to separate the layers. And I'll just tear these down. Okay, paint some glue on. Then roll your piece in the tissue paper or paper towel. So once you have the paper towel covered the entire piece, then just let it dry. Don't put any glue on top because the stuff will just stick to your fingers. So just set it aside and let it dry, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, that's dry to the touch. I'm just going to put another coat of glue on top, and once I coat this, I'm going to let it dry again. So it was important to let that dry underneath before putting the second coat on, otherwise it'll just pick up all the paper and it will come off. I'm going to get another piece of paper towel. I'm just going to soak it in the glue. You wouldn't be able to do this with tissue paper because it'll just fall apart. And I'm just going to roll it. Okay. If you look at pictures of his staff, he's got a little bit of, it looks like it wraps around, or twists I should say. Like a very twisty look towards the top here. That's what I'm trying to recreate with this paper towel. Okay, and he had a little bit of a thing sticking up here, so I try to recreate that. Twist that. There we go. So I'll just leave that dry. I'm just popping in with an edit. You're going to see in the next clip me pull out a wire. I actually didn't stick wire in this, there's no wire in it. But I did at some point stick wire in the bottom, and that was just to help me hold on to it. It's not necessary. If you had one, I guess it's kind of helpful. It kind of did get on my way though. But if you wanted to roll the tinfoil up around wire, you could also do that as well. And then have a little bit protruding that you can hang on to, and that might be helpful to you. And then cut it off when you're all done. But like I said, it's not necessary. You could just totally roll the tinfoil without it. Alright guys, I actually put this in my toaster oven because it was taking so long. Up here, these little parts here that I added extra was taking too long to dry. So I stuck it in my toaster oven at about 200 and let it sit in there for about 20 minutes or so. And now it's pretty solid. I mean, you can bend it if you really wanted to, but it's actually really solid. And after the paint dries and everything, once we get the paint on there, it's going to be even more solid. And these little pieces here, as it was drying, I kept taking it out of the oven and kept pinching these little pieces here, just to get that little bit of a twisty look. I didn't spend too much time on this. I actually am going very quickly because I'm trying to get this done so I can upload it to YouTube and get on with releasing that pattern. But if I took my time and gave it a lot more detail, I mean, I could turn it into something pretty fantastic. So this is just basic. And yeah, just the basic stuff. Okay, so now I'm going to paint this, and I'm going to start with black. Black first. This is how I do my fake bark now. I used to have so many problems with painting, making things look like wood, and then when I was doing my new big tree, I had to do a black base coat because it was so large, and I was trying to get into all the little crevices. So I gave it a black wash, actually, paint that was mixed with water, and that's how I figured this out. Okay, and you want to get right inside there too. Okay, that black is now dry, and I'm going to take a brown. This is a nutmeg brown. It doesn't need to be the same. You just want a brown. You don't need very much, and I'm going to use, this is called soft suede. It's like a beigey tan color. Okay, and I didn't clean my brush, I just got the excess off. Now I'm going to take my brown. I'm just going to work most of it off my brush, and I'm going to be dry brushing these colors on there to do like highlights. And this is where you'll start to see it look like wood. So just gently going over it, dry brushing. So it doesn't look like much right now, but just let that dry. I've been using a hair dryer actually to speed up these coats in between. Okay, now I'm going to grab that light beigey color and just gently go over, and you'll see right away how it picks up and makes all these highlights. Okay, a little bit of raw sienna. So I just kept alternating between the colors. So a little bit of that soft suede, some raw sienna, some brown, and just kept alternating. And it's important to let it completely dry too sometimes, like before you start putting more highlights on, just let it completely dry. And then you'll see the highlights will pick up better as well. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that gray, and I'm just going to dab that on, just randomly. And don't worry about messing it up, because if you put too much gray on or if you put too much brown on, just let it dry and then go over it again with your highlights. Then you can just pop the bead in there. For the very little time that I spent on this and the materials that I used, I think that's pretty cool. Especially for people that don't have access to polymer clay and stuff. Using tinfoil, tape, and paper towel, you could still come up with something pretty fantastic. And if you spent even more time than I did, which I hardly spent any time at all, if you put a little bit more time into it, you could come up with something even greater. So there you go. I hope you found that helpful. And if you do make yourself a staff or a crocheted wizard, I'd sure love to see it. Post pictures on my Facebook page, doll houses, and the things that go in them. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you super soon.